Okay, I guess we can probably get going. Let me see. So good morning, afternoon, evening. This is the weekly VOLTHA TST meeting. Let's see today's ready here. Okay, so I guess we can jump into the agenda items for today. Someone added an entry for the CFP for the open computing.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So this is looking at the events calendar. This looks like could be a good event for broadband to participate in. So Amit and maybe Mahir, if you can take a look at the CFP and kind of see if there's proposal or two we could put together, or if there's other folks on the TST who would be able to present and talk about VOLTHA or broadband in general. I think it'd be a good opportunity for us to have a talk or two at. I believe we participated in the past.
Open compute, I can't recall, maybe in the very initial days when um, the specifications of the white box Open OLT was also in the works, but
Mm.
after that, not much traction around that area, at least not to my knowledge.
I I joined last year's event. I think it was in Prague. But the overall presentation was mostly about the hardware topics, green energy efficiency kinds of things. There wasn't many software related presentations or topics in this event. But at least we can take a look. I'll be around San Jose in that time of year. Mahir and me, we can take a look at that.
That would be great. Thanks, Serkant.
Okay, thank you.
We can bring this up again to next week too, if anybody else would like to talk about it. Okay, so for one other announcement, I mentioned this before, probably at the start of the month. So Linux Foundation has a requirement in place that when patches and code is submitted into the repositories, there's a sign-off process. It basically adds implicit licensing to the patches and the code that's being submitted. So there's no question that you're basically making code changes for the benefit of the project. So this is kind of a requirement for Linux Foundation. Linux Foundation initially configured the repositories and the Jenkins server and everything for Open Networking Foundation, but it must be somewhere along the way some of the config settings have changed because sign off is not currently a requirement on the Garrett server, and it actually needs to be. So this is just a heads up. At some point in the very near future, we're going to be changing the configuration for all of the ONF projects for VOLTHA broadband, obviously, ONOS, probably P4, Ether projects, and anything I'm forgetting, which is basically just going to make code sign off a requirement or for pre-commit activity. So when you go to checking code changes, the code just needs to have a sign off note on it. And basically the way you add them, it's pretty easy to configure. There's an extra argument sign off when you do a git commit. It's specifying this flag will use your G keys to sign the patch. To make it very convenient, you can create aliases in your git config. Like I have one called CS for commit sign off, and I have another one CO for just commit without sign off. So you can do it with an alias, you can do a git CS check-in, and it's all transparent how, the signature's added. So I went in and added some background links. This all stems from a lawsuit that Santa Cruz Unix had with the Linux project a long time ago. Basically, SEO asserted ownership of Linux, and it was later proven through the court case that Linux developers were working on Linux long before SEO tried to assert ownership of it. Well, anyway, the sign-offs help protect the project from legal challenges and things like that. So it's very important to add them in. And there's also a note in here for developer certificate of origin that's kind of tied to it. So there's some notes. If you scroll back through the TST agenda back to April 9th, there's some notes in there for configuring Git, how to set up Git config to do the signing. You want to create a GPG key if you do not have one already, with an elliptic curve algorithm, because that's the strongest one right now. And add that GPG key and Git config as your signing key, and then Git sign off just works after that point. The visible piece that you're going to see if you go in and look at a commit message or do a Git log, there'll be a signed off by entry added in to the commit message. And there's a couple of Git commands. You can do a verification of the signatures that were used to encrypt the patch, so you can prove who it came from. Yeah, like Git show head, show signatures, one of the ones that'll do the checking. So if anybody has any questions, or probably should write up some documentation or cookbook just how to do this. But it's not enabled now, but it's going to be enabled in the near future. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts about this? would have liked to give a little bit more lead time in enabling it, but this is kind of important to turn on, and that's why it's a requirement now. But that'll be showing up at some point soon. Okay, so a couple of updates or minor updates. For the Jenkins jobs and the AMI that was removed, that's still work in progress. We don't have a functional answer for that yet. In parallel with this, we're also trying to work on the VPN migration for the end of the month. This was basically to migrate the VPN, or we have a dependency on a VPN that routes traffic to the lab in Berlin. So part of the migration over at Linux Foundation, we're working on trying to move the VPN out of the co-location. So basically the colo can be decommissioned. Some people at Linux Foundation have agreed to help with the problem. So right now, I basically need to get into the servers and grant admin access so they can get in and play around. But that's also being worked on. But we have to get them admin access before they can start installing things. But that's also in progress. Does anybody have any questions or anything about this? And I know I'm kind of rambling on it. Okay, with that, I guess the floor, if there were any other items. With that, the floor is open for discussion if anybody would like to bring anything up.
Julie, on the Jenkins, is there any timeline? Because there are a lot of change sets which needs to be merged and all are pending.
Right. Part of the problem is the AMI that we were using doesn't exist anymore. So basically having to recreate it from scratch. So got to find all the old versions and all that fun stuff. It's going to take a little bit of time, trying to get that out as soon as we can. I don't have a timeline right now because I don't know everything that's going to need to go into this.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Mhm. with that, well, the floor is still open if anybody would like to bring up anything. Guess we'll have another really brief meeting. I know it's kind of hard without the server, the jobs and the patches running. Let's see. Just check the Garrett patches. There's a bunch of them in here, but we're still blocked on job status from the runs. Okay. Well, I guess it would be the last call for any discussion topics. It sounds like it's going to be a quick meeting today. Okay, with that, I guess we can give you quite a bit of time back from your day. Okay, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Joey.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.